This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome back to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. I am your host, Sarah Blair, and we are doing I Want to Believe Minute, where we unpick the second X-Files movie 1 minute at a time. Today we're looking into minute 55, running from approximately 54 minutes on the dot, as Mulder and Scully continue their discussion. Lines have been drawn. Good stuff. Yeah. And then we're going to go into 54 minutes and 59 seconds as Scully is walking down the stairs at the hospital. We've got JJ Lendl back with us. JJ, I like your tattoos. Were you going for the cosplay of the Enigma there?
Yeah, so last night, we recorded, obviously we record one of these a day. We don't record them all at once. I don't know who, sent that rumor out, but last night after recording I was thinking, I got to do something special because this is my last minute with you, and then
gotta go out with a real
go out with the band. So full Enigma tattoo here. Probably not going to keep them. I'm told that it was incredibly painful getting them, first of all, but I'm told that it's going to be even more painful removing them. So, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. I want to see if I can push myself to the limit, draw my own lines for myself in the way that Scully has drawn a line in the sand here, telling Mulder, listen, drop this investigation or you're going to be sleeping alone tonight, my friend. I don't care how shaven you are. Okay? Yes.
No more scratchy beard.
So I have a question for you outside the purview of this minute, if you don't mind. The scratchy beard. So when in the scene in the bed earlier in the film, when bearded Mulder, we'll call, if they had a full action figure line for this film, there would be a bearded Mulder variant. Correct. There would be a topless bearded Mulder variant. Maybe a half shaved. This would be a very epic line of action figures.
And he would come holding like the razor.
Exactly. Yes, and then there would be the shaving play set, which would be the sink and the mirror. And, it's like frame your Scully figure in the mirror, as they do in the hit film, I Want to Believe. But I digress. The moment when he kisses her and she says, ooh, what is it, scratchy beard? Like, do they not often kiss? It felt like that was a new sensation for her.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
feels like he's had this beard for a while.
Yeah, it was very domestic again. Like they're really hamming up the domesticity. She's like, it's a scratchy beard, but do you really think she's gonna put up that much of a fight? I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I see that you've added looks like a DIY beard to your Fox Mulder standee, which you have next to you. Is that dyed cotton swabs that you've glued to his face?
I did consider, shaving the dog to like get some hair, but we don't have a dog, so
there you go.
I was at a loss
dog
to what to
so
do.
that you could shave it,
right?
Put the hair on there. But then what do you do with a half-shaved dog?
I just went and picked off a bunch of Q-tips, like a whole box.
You were busy last night.
1,000 Q-tips.
That's good.
Just one at a time.
Yes. Well, that's good. I know that you don't have a life outside of this podcast. You don't have children or a spouse. And so it's good that you have time to do that. That's great.
Yeah.
Yes. Like myself,
to keep busy.
I don't have any other responsibilities here. So I did a 12-hour tattoo procedure yesterday. So feeling pretty good about that.
I love our level of dedication to this episode.
Absolutely. In this particular minute of this film.
And I do fully intend to, shave off the Q-tips.
Yes.
Mulder.
That'll be that'll be later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just found that weird that she was reacting to the beard that way, as if it was the actress, like, oh, David, you're so.
I mean, that line where he says thanks when she says, yeah,
Right.
that's definitely improv, right? That was
Right.
actually our minute that I talked about with Cortlan and Cathy.
Oh, really? Oh,
We talked about those minutes. So when those come out, you should definitely
I will listen. Yes. Bated breath.
It's fun times. Yeah.
That's fun. I will listen to that. It's great.
Yeah.
But there's no beard in this scene.
No.
But there is a lot of angst. The minute starts with Scully talking about, I think, fighting her own battles. Like, her, I'm sure, alluding to, her experimental brain surgery that she had done earlier that day.
Because she is now a trained neurosurgeon.
Yes, yes. She expert Googler and trained neurosurgeon, Dana Scully. And it's really sad. Mulder he just says, don't do this, and he's just kind of maybe not begging, but just sort of trying to right the ship here in the last minute, just like, hey, please don't. And I don't even know if he's talking about, like, don't say that you won't help with the investigation. He's saying, don't put me in this situation. Don't put us in this situation. Don't make this about, coming home at night. Like, and I relate to Mulder in this scene, in the fact that he's, there's people's lives on the line here from his perspective. Yeah. And he's trying to do the right thing, and the right thing for him is not to walk away from this, even for Scully. Like, it's a tough position to be in.
Yeah. This is his version of don't give up,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
If you hear, we have a third guest here on the X-Cast, my little kitty cat. You know what? Speaking of the beard stuff, I know that the listeners can't see, but I've got my beautiful little Tilly here, who's a brown tabby cat. Perfect for a beard, if we would want to. Do you want to sacrifice some of your beautiful fur for a Mulder beard, Tilly? What do you think? She's just staring at me, saying, I don't know, but I'm glad you're holding me right now.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the X-Files. Tilly, you want to talk with us? Yeah? Okay, she's game.
Awesome.
She watched the movie this weekend, too.
Cool.
She may not have been that engaged.
Is Tilly a shipper or no Romo?
Let's ask. Do you like when they kiss? Yes, she does. She likes to kiss. Okay.
Yeah, she's going to go read some fan fiction later.
She might write some fan fiction. Yeah, we'll see.
True.
She's a very impressive little kitty cat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you can stay here with me, Tilly. This is sort of, the climax of this conversation thing, sort of peters out at the very beginning of this minute, and it just sort of becomes okay. And there is a long pause in the conversation in which, Mulder just does not know where to go from here.
Yeah.
He just wishes her luck. And it's tough. I mean, as a dyed-in-the-wool shipper, do you remember how you felt the first time you saw this scene? In that moment?
It's devastating.
Yeah.
It's like 3 words. Good luck then. It's like, oh my God. What?
Then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, how do they both have to feel really betrayed in that moment, because he feels like she's leaving him and she feels like he's leaving her, they're both
like
making
the
this
perfect
choice.
Storm.
Yeah.
And I think I feel like I've ragged a little bit on Scully in over the last couple of minutes, just because I feel like her motivation's clear, but I just feel like the stakes on Mulder's end are so high when it comes to. But of course, Scully is feeling like they don't necessarily need Mulder to tie up this investigation. But and again, I would say, have you not seen the show, Scully? Like he's going to be the one that breaks the case even further.
Right.
But of course, in Scully's position, like anybody who's in a relationship, you want to be number one. You want to know that your partner is willing to move heaven and earth to make things work. And, this is a really tough situation that they're in. And Mulder makes a choice, and it is not to do what Scully asked. And that's hard. I don't know if you would, is he choosing the work over Scully? Is this what's happening right now? I guess.
I feel like it is, but I also don't feel like that's out of character for Mulder.
Yeah, no, not at all.
She's been through this before so many times, and she's always eventually come around to his side, and this time she's like really putting her foot down.
Right. And good for her, because she clearly has a vision for what she wants her life to be like. But something that has over the years helped me with relationships, both romantic and not romantic, is believe people when they show you who they are.
Yeah.
Like let them tell you who they are and believe them. And so, for over a decade, Fox Mulder has been telling you who he is, and you should believe him. And the relationship that you have cannot be based on what you hope he would do. It has to be based on what you know he will do. And you had to have known this is the choice he would make when you put him in this position. What else is he going to do? Like, if he doesn't do this, then who is he?
Right.
And does part of you, what made you fall in love with this guy? It wasn't his, cool demeanor. It wasn't his, his ability to let things go at the drop of a hat. It was his
ability to remain cool when he has bile on his fingers.
That's right. It could have been his, incredible assortment of leather jackets. That's very possible. Does he wear a leather jacket in this film?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think that this is...
I think suede is the one he's wearing. Is it suede?
08 was more of a suede era.
Yeah.
Feel.
Yeah.
And, and I wonder if, Tina Mulder's Leather Emporium has gone out of business at this point, People who have no idea what I'm talking about. Apologies, listeners.
This is for the hardcore X-Cast fans.
Yes.
You'll know.
Absolutely. Yeah. Maybe they have a going out of business sale. He's at, he's shopping at the Suede store now. But anyway, it's a tough scene. It's a tough scene for a lot of reasons. And, in terms of this being an X-Files movie, like basically what the audience has presented here is we're breaking up the team. And there are consequences for this. Mulder is really good at putting himself in dumb, dangerous situations. And if he doesn't have backup, it's usually not a great time for Fox Mulder. He's got a very punchable face.
But if Mulder didn't go off and get himself into these sticky situations, we wouldn't have any reason for Skinner to show up and help him out.
And it all really does come back to Skinner, right?
It does.
The real star of the film. Somebody, as they say in the later scene, somebody with balls. The only person with balls at the FBI, I think he's actually credited as that in the film credits. If you look, it's Skinner, and then in parentheses, somebody with balls at the FBI, which is fun. It's. I'm thinking about one other thing when it comes to, we're talking about relationship dynamics in this
Mhm.
minute, in the previous minutes that we've discussed, and Skinner, who comes in later in the film and helps to, with the climax and the
Yeah.
denouement. These characters of Mulder and Scully feel very isolated from the world around them generally. I mean, I don't think they're having a lot of game nights at the at the house at Chateau de Mulder and Scully.
I mean, the lone gunmen are gone, technically speaking.
Absolutely. And
So,
they just don't seem to have a lot of connections. She certainly doesn't seem to have a lot of work friends. Uh,
she's not
there's the
endearing
one.
herself to the
Yes.
nurses and the doctors here.
No.
Yeah.
There's the one lady who I think is just she was cast simply to glare at her at every other scene. My wife was like, "What is wrong with that lady? She keeps. Why is she? Man, so hostile." The that's stressful on a relationship. It is.
Yeah.
And that might be part of what is motivating Scully here, which is your life can feel really small. And I think that Mulder probably relies on her a lot for everything because he is in hiding. Like, I don't think he's the one. I don't think he's running out for groceries. I don't think that he's, not doesn't feel like he's in a position to sort of be out in the world because technically he's a fugitive. So it really does support the idea that, and again, I just kind of wish that this was a little bit more out in the open in terms of the dialogue in the movie, where Mulder helping with this case is a means to an end. He can get a life back, and then maybe Scully can get a life back. Um, and so, but for Mulder, it's I'm thinking about this case, and for Scully, it was always I'm thinking about what this opportunity could mean for you and your life and your freedom and our relationship and expanding our world a little bit. So yeah, I just feel like that's all in the background of this entire conversation.
Yeah. It's a big scene, not just for the film, but for their characters and their relationship as a whole.
Yeah.
It's really pivotal.
How do you feel like the end of this scene, and I guess, and obviously this is not their final scene together in the film, but, how this sort of dovetails with where we find them at the start of season 10? Like, do you feel like this is portents? Like, this is kind of, do you think they ever really get over this conversation? Like,
That's a good question. I feel like it would be really tough because
yeah,
they now at this point it's just going to be hanging over their heads. But I mean, I think they do more towards season 11, but it's really hard to think about that lasting for so long.
yeah. Because they don't really, I don't want to get ahead. You guys are going to be covering many more minutes of this movie, but, there's a resolution with the plot of this film. I don't know how clear there is about a resolution for this relationship and where it goes from here. Because they were at a crossroads and they're not very honest with each other after this scene throughout the film. And, we have that fun little tag of them on the water.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like that, I don't know, that doesn't, do you think that that's real, like within the world of the X-Files? Do you think that Mulder and Scully were in a rowboat?
It's so out of character. It's hard to believe.
It just feels like David and Gillian, and that's fine, and it's fun. And yeah, like we had said in a previous minute, if that was the end of the X-Files as we knew it, like what a fun little moment. Not exactly closure, but
Right.
I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if we're meant to really interpret that as the characters, going out and finding their happily ever after, even in the moment. I just feel like there's so much angst in these last couple minutes of this movie, in this conversation that we've covered over the last couple of episodes, that isn't truly addressed in the last parts of the film. So yeah, I don't know.
I think that's
It's
fair.
not,
And then, but in season 11, right? It seems like they're back together. Like they're watching TV together at the
yeah,
beginning of,
absolutely.
you know.
And again, you try to parse those revival episodes, these 16
Yeah.
very, very different
Yeah.
episodes of television with incredibly different focuses and tones and
Mm-hmm.
development. And I think something that Chris Carter really likes to be about the Mulder and Scully relationship is cryptic and coy.
Right.
And uh,
Yeah.
and
That's fair.
they're clearly together in season 11, but even in their togetherness, things feel very cryptic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think that I think that that's purposeful. I don't know if it has to do
Yeah.
with, you're giving the people what they want, but you might not want that, but you're still.
Yeah.
It's like when you make your partner's favorite meal, and it's like, this is pretty good, but I don't know if you put a lot of love and passion into this meal.
Maybe sprinkled it with a little arsenic on top.
Right,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I feel like you were resentful when you cooked this. Yeah.
Maybe it's Frank working in what he's able to.
Right.
He's,
Right. Yes.
he's like, okay,
Right.
but I really think that because he's such a hardcore shipper. It's so
Right.
funny.
Yes.
Yeah, and in the commentary, Frank is like, you can almost hear him thinking and like just really like watching this scene and just being so into it. And then Chris Carter's like, he's like, all right, so that shower was really old. You're
Oh,
just like,
that shower was really old. I can't wait until we get to the two-headed dog. That's gonna
I
blow
know.
you.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a lot to think about, and I think overall that's kind of where the value really lies in this movie is
Yeah.
we get the convoluted kind of plot stuff and the A and the B plots and that kind of thing, and but I think what bumps it up several many points is moments like this.
Yeah, it's the chemistry of the leads, which I think you could argue, like, for as good as so many aspects of the X-Files television series is that
Mhm.
without that chemistry, it's the show goes from, exceptional to good or great.
Right.
And it's the leads that really, that's part of the reason why, after Duchovny left, for as much as I enjoy a lot of season 8 and some of season 9, I mean, it's that spark that people liked. This is, a lot of people would argue that the X-Files doesn't exist without this relationship at its core. It's just something
Right.
else.
Yep.
Yeah, and this I think this is a challenging movie. For some, I think this is a challenging scene. And my my wife and I watched the movie when the credits rolled. I asked, so what did you think? Because it was her first time actually sitting down watching the whole thing. Her only question was, how did they land on this story for this movie? It's like, well, I don't have the answer to that. The only thing that I could offer was, I know this film was made on a very small budget, 25-30 million or something like that, which sounds like a lot of money, but when it comes to a summer blockbuster, is a paltry budget, especially for a franchise that has been around for as long as the X-Files. So it does limit your scope.
Yeah. Not to mention how much it costs to digitally remove the footprints from the snow every time everybody had to walk across the snow.
Yeah, you're saving a lot of money. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's crazy.
It's
Oh,
bonkers.
anyway,
Yeah.
there's a little bit left in our minute here that we're not covering.
Yeah.
Huh?
Scully walking down the stairs and the
Yes.
stained glass window behind her, Chris Carter says was theirs. They put that stained glass window.
Okay,
I think.
but it's real. It's not a.
Right.
We blew most of the budget on that stained glass window for the walk down.
Mhm.
And of
So,
course, this is, I had mentioned in a previous episode that the chapter title for
mhm.
this time is called Decisions, and of course, I think that's alluding to the decisions that were made in the last scene, and the decision that we are about to hear about in the next minute by the Fearon family. Christian Fearon is that kid's name.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, oh boy, Christian Fearon.
Yep.
A little heavy-handed there.
I mean, yeah. That's a lot. Yeah.
Got a lot.
So.
Yeah, I wish we could continue it, because I think this is interesting exchange that's about to happen between Scully and these poor parents who are being pulled between their faith and, you know, the love of their son, between hope and you know, acceptance of a truth that they do not want to, you know, stare into the face. And, you know, as a parent, and I'm sure, you know, like I said, the last time I really watched this film was, you know, in 2008, well before I was a husband and a father. And, you know, it hits different now.
It does.
This part of the story hits different.
It really does. Yeah. Well, we will let Tony take care of that.
Yeah, Tony, you take care of
that. We'll hand the baton over. But as always, it's been so much fun hanging out with you, JJ. It's always great
Likewise.
Talking to you about the X-Files. And
yeah, it's been a while since I've been on, so it was really fun to catch up, both with you and with the X-Files larger universe. And to revisit this film, which I hadn't seen in so long, and which, you know, there's so many things to love about this you know, odd little picture.
Right.
And
it's an enigma wrapped within an enigma.
Yeah, and it's so interesting where, you know, I think there's, for a film that isn't that old, I mean, it's you know, it's what, 16 years old now, which actually is pretty old. Oh my gosh, whose hands are these? I'm so old. But there's a fair amount of nostalgia baked into this movie, because it feels, in a lot of ways, we talk about the connections to the revival series, which would come 8 years later, but it shares a lot of DNA with the original series, and so it almost feels like this weird little bridge to what came before and what would be coming soon after. So I'm glad that I got to walk across it with you.
I am too. We appreciate you being here. Where can we find you around the internet these days?
You can go to my website at jjlendl.com. You'll find a lot of my artwork there, and you'll find my shop where I have prints for various television, film, comics, stuff that I do. And you can also find me online on Twitter at jjlendl, and on Instagram at jjlendl. Those are my two main haunts these days online. And in terms of anything else, you know, I've always got new stuff coming out. In terms of releases, I will be this summer. I'm not sure when this is going to debut, but I plan on being at the X-Files Fan Fest this summer, which is in Saratoga Springs, New York. They're doing an event there at the end of June, where I will have some exclusive prints similar to last year. So keep an eye out for announcements online on Twitter and Instagram for those. Good for X-Files fans.
Yeah, and you've got your own. You said Patreon, right?
I did. I actually didn't mention my Patreon.
Yeah.
And I won't. No, I will. Patreon.com/JJLendl. I will post a lot of exclusive content on there in terms of like behind the scenes stuff for projects that I've worked on, both the X-Files and some of the other franchises that I've had the opportunity to collaborate with, like Star Wars and Star Trek. And I also have an exclusive Patreon shop that patrons have access to, which features a lot of X-Files artwork that is not available in my general shop. So if you're a fan of my X-Files work and you'd like to get your hands on some more artwork that is not available to a wider audience, make sure to sign up for the Patreon. You can sign up for $1 to get access to the shop. And, if you look at the shop and you just really hate what's on there and you just don't want anything to do with it, you could always end your membership there. It
Yeah.
just costs you $1 to take a look. But I appreciate all my patrons and their patronage, and my patrons are very what's the word I want to look for? They have a lot of patience with me as I try to get content up there between everything else that I'm doing. So I usually do a pretty good job of getting stuff up there on a timely manner, but sometimes I'll do my big dumps where I'll do like 4 posts a day to try to catch up with the last couple of weeks. So if you're on the Patreon, hang in there. I always get the content up, but sometimes it's in huge bursts.
It is fun to like see your captain's logs and all of that, and follow along
hopefully
with your process, and
people get something out of it.
Cool.
Get to if you're interested in design and both traditional artwork and digital artwork. I do try to put a lot of stuff up there that could be beneficial if you're trying to learn how to navigate that profession and just how to do some of that work and some of the tricks that I've learned over the years, making a bunch of stuff.
Good stuff. Awesome. Well, you can find me online at sarahlblair.com, and I've got all my links on there. It's the easiest place to find me. Look up the Xcast. We're around. Come and say hi, and talk X-Files with us. And let us know if you're listening to I Want to Believe Me.
Nice.
It's always good to hear from you. So, Tony will be back next episode with a brand new guest on minute 56. But until then, always remember, trust no one.